Hello there. I'm going to tell you about our study, a randomized control trial on anonymizing reviewers to each other or not. And this is a joint work with this set of really amazing collaborators. So just two pieces of context. The study was done in a computer science conference. And in computer science, conferences are quite different from the conferences in your fields. So we review full papers, not just abstracts. Conferences are reputed to be at par or better than journals. Conferences are frequently a terminal venue for publication, and they're highly competitive. So if you want a simple mental model, you can think of it as a synchronized journal review process. Okay. Now, in these conferences, the reviewers first submit their independent reviews for the papers that they're assigned. After that, there's a period where the reviewers can see each other's reviews on that paper, and then they can also see the author's responses, and then they can discuss with each other. This discussion happens on an online forum which is typed. Okay? So it takes place typically in this amazing platform called openreview.net, where you can give in typed comments. Now, there had been a lot of debate in a bunch of our conferences about one particular policy. That is, should the reviewers of any given paper be able to see each other's identities or not? And different conferences were choosing their own policies based on the organizers' personal opinions or anecdotal experiences. So some chose an anonymous policy where the reviewers of a paper don't know each other, and some chose a non-anonymous policy where the reviewers of any paper know each other's identities. So we wanted to study this question, and towards that, we did a randomized control trial. This was done in the Uncertainty in Artificial Intelligence, or UAI 2022 conference. So it's a top-tier AI conference, which is also relatively small. So this has several hundred papers and several hundred reviewers. Now, we assigned all of the papers and all of the reviewers uniformly at random to either the anonymous condition or the non-anonymous condition. Now, the papers in the anonymous condition were assigned to reviewers in the anonymous condition. The papers in the non-anonymous condition were assigned to reviewers in the non-anonymous condition. Note that the reviewers were not anonymous to the editors. That said, reviewers were anonymous to the authors in both the settings. Okay. Now, in this setting, we asked 7 research questions. Question number 1, do reviewers discuss more in the anonymous condition or in the non-anonymous condition? We found that per reviewer paper pair, there were about 10% more posts in the anonymous condition than non-anonymous. This is not significant or borderline significant, depending on how you interpret it. Question number 2. So we wanted to see if the final accept versus reject decisions for the papers were closer to junior or senior reviewers' opinions across the two conditions. And what we found was, as compared to the non-anonymous condition, in the anonymous condition, there were 15% more papers for which the final decision was closer to the junior reviewer's opinion. Question number 3. A major concern that organizers had in anonymous review processes was that this will become one of the internet anonymous forums where there's impoliteness and trolling and so on. Right? The question that we asked is, well, are reviewers less polite when anonymous? Now, importantly note that reviewers are not anonymous to the editors in either conditions. Okay. So we use large language models to score politeness. We use various ways to calibrate the large language models. Also, for privacy of the reviews, we didn't want to send it to a commercial provider, so we used an open source LLM, which we ran locally on our machines. And we did not find a significant difference in the politeness across the two conditions. Now, question number 4. We also wanted to understand the difference between reviewers' own experiences across the two conditions. So towards this, we conducted an anonymous survey of the reviewers, And in this survey, we asked them 5 questions about their experiences. And we did, across the 2 conditions, we did not find a significant difference for any of the 5 questions. Now, question number 5. Building on the previous question, we also wanted to understand reviewers' preferences as to whether they prefer the anonymous or the non-anonymous condition. And so we also asked them about this in the survey. And we did find a weak preference for anonymous discussions amongst the reviewers. Now, question number 6. Now we put the reviewers in the organizer's shoes, and we wanted to know from them what factors they would consider as most or least important in making this policy decision. Turns out that at an aggregate, they said that the most important criterion is reviewers' feeling of safety when expressing their opinions, and the least important is politeness and professionalism of communication amongst reviewers. Now, for the 7th and final question, I'll have to give you some more context. So there have been various previous anecdotal reports of cheating when reviewer identities are known to each other. Yeah. So in these settings, you have reviewers who know each other's identities, but of course, the author does not know or is not supposed to know who the reviewers are. However, some reviewer would be friends with the author and would tell the author, Luke is the one who's rejecting your paper. He's reviewer number 2. Now, it's also been anecdotally reported that in cases where the reviewer rejecting the paper is a junior researcher and the author involved is a senior researcher, then the following happens. Duke, I'm your letter writer. Come over to the dark side. If you want tenure, you should accept this paper. So, while these were all anecdotal reports, we wanted to understand more broadly the prevalence of this kind of issues. And so we asked in the survey to the reviewers if they have experienced dishonest behavior due to reviewer identities being shown to the other reviewers. Yeah. Now, we gave this issue as an example, and we also asked them that this question is not restricted to this conference alone, but we want to understand if they've ever experienced in any venue dishonest behavior due to reviewer identities shown to each other. And what we found is that about 7% of the respondents said that yes, they have experienced some dishonest behavior in some conference due to the reviewer identities being shown to each other. So after this study, computer science conference, several computer science conferences have drawn upon these findings to make their policy choices on whether to anonymize reviewers to each other or not. And generally what we've seen is that they've shown a greater inclination towards having anonymity in the reviewer discussions. So with that, I'll stop here. I'll thank you. I'm very happy to take questions. May the microphones be with you.
Thank you for a very good, entertaining presentation at the end of the morning. We'll take the first question here.
Thank you, Maria Kowalczuk, Frontiers. Thank you for fantastic presentation. You've made my day. And it's also kind of an interesting study. And I was wondering, because you said that the reviewers had preference for the anonymous, but in your study, did the same reviewer had an opportunity to experience both kinds of reviewing? So
No.
that they could make a comparison and express a preference?
That's a very good point. No, in this study, each reviewer was assigned to one of the 2 conditions. That said, 2 things. One is many of our previous conferences, and the reviewers are common across many of these conferences, they've chosen different policies. So it's very likely that the reviewers have experienced the other setting as well. And second, perhaps they can also imagine what would happen if they were in the other setting.
Thank you.
Mario?
Hi, Mario Malichki, Stanford University. Could you clarify, please, if the discussion is visible to the authors? And did you find difference in acceptance rates between the conditions, the way they were done? And,
Yes.
And the politeness, if I can ask, the third one, when you measured the politeness, did you measure the politeness of the reports that were given to the authors as well?
Great. Okay, I'm trying to recollect your questions one by one. So one, difference in acceptance rate. No, there is no statistically significant difference between the acceptance rate. It was like 0.7% difference or something. Then your question was about whether we measured politeness on the original peer review reports. No, we measured this politeness difference was on the discussion posts, because this is where the difference arose about anonymous versus not anonymous. And I believe you had a third question, which I forgot.
Did the authors get to see the discussion point?
Did the authors get to see? So the way it works is there's initially a part where the authors can give their response and the reviewers can follow up if they have any questions. But after that, like in this discussion phase between reviewers, the authors don't see that.
Thank you.
We go at the back of the room.
Hi, Iona Cristia Padova. So I also have a few small questions. First, your primary outcome, because you had 7, right? And some were very bordering statistical significance. Then, since this junior researcher thing seems to be a problem, you could have stratified. So consider that you had junior researchers in cohorts. And 3, how about the crossover design where the same, so they would have evaluated both in anonymous mode and in non-anonymous mode. And then you could have really compared the same person, their experience of evaluating in anonymous and in non-anonymous.
Yes, good question. So for the first one, in the paper, we do have additional stratified analysis for various questions, which stratifies across seniority as well. For your second question about having the same reviewer in both conditions, we did think about it, and we were also concerned with some spillover effects, etc. So eventually, we made this design choice of complete separation.
Steve Goodman, Stanford. So first, I want tickets to your stand-up show. So I'll come. But I'm puzzled by the construction here of the relationship between editors and reviewers. We often use the shorthand of saying reviewers reject, accept, but in the best cases, they don't. They inform the editors, and the reviews advise the editors.
Yes.
So I didn't see, maybe you said it, I forgot it, what the editors thought of the constructiveness of the input they got from the two models, and whether their decisions, were affected materially differently in one condition versus the other.
Yes, good question. So just a clarification regarding the process. The way it works is the reviewers will submit their initial opinions and then make those discussion posts.
Yeah.
And there the reviewers can also update their opinions. And now eventually it's the editor who will look at the discussion posts and the reviews and will make the decision.
Right.
Now, towards that, we, as a part of the survey, we have also surveyed the editors as well.
Okay.
But it was a small sample size. The results are there in the paper. I don't remember offhand. There's no, as I mentioned earlier, there's no difference in the acceptance rates eventually, though, where the editors were making the decisions.
And you don't remember what the editors sort of subjectively thought about the constructiveness of the review input from the two models?
So we do have questions. We did not have questions about their self-reported experiences because the editors were common across both of them.
Mm-hmm.
We do have information about their preferences. And I don't remember the answer, but I can pull it up and let you know.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Hi, Nick DeVito, University of Oxford. It's really great to see rigorous evidence for this, even if it's one field, but someone who's thought about this, and it's someone who's here at a conference largely of not computer scientists. I'm wondering if just what your thoughts about external validity for this is, and if there might be, as a computer scientist yourself, unique aspects to the computer science community or how things work there that might make these results either more or less transferable to peer review or in traditional peer review in other fields, journal peer review,
Oh, I
things
see.
like that.
So just to understand your question, like what are things that we can translate from this computer science conference results to the peer review in other fields?
Yeah, just broadly, like how do you think, like how transferable do you think these results might be to other?
Yeah, that's a great question. So I'm and think out aloud, like if you have a journal review process where again reviewers discuss via typing and so on, then again these results, I think they're directly relevant. On the other hand, I also know that many proposal reviewing have this discussions, but they have this face-to-face meetings and Zoom meetings, right? So there, I guess, because this is a tight forum, we could do anonymous. There, it's hard to do anonymous. Maybe unless you make sure that everybody becomes a Darth reviewer.
Thank you.
Hello, thank you. Subha Hussaini from Hamad Medical Corporation. I just wanted to ask you about the acceptance rate, but not in terms of the papers that you have received, but the acceptance rate of the reviewers. So were they informed when they received the invitation to review about the trial, about might be anonymized or not anonymized? Because one of the major concerns when opening up the peer review in terms of identity is the refusal to the invitation.
Yeah,
So-
that's a great question. So the way this worked is we did this reviewer recruitment, which was done like how the conferences do, independent of the experiment. So once the reviewers were recruited, then sometime between then and the review process starting, we sent them an email. We told them that, hey, we are going to do this experiment on anonymous versus non-anonymous reviewing. If you want to opt out, you're welcome to opt out if you're worried about it. And nobody opted out.
Thank you.
Right
Hello,
from
Bahar
remote.
Hi, Bahar Mamani from Elsevier asks whether editors in this situation have a moderation role in the discussions? And if yes, do you see any difference between anonymous and non-anonymous in their moderation role?
Oh, that's a great question from Bahar. They do have some moderation role, like they can either ping reviewers and say, hey, reviewer number 1, look at the review number 2 because it's conflicting with you. Or if things go haywire, then yes, they have a moderation role. That's a good question. We did not look at it, but eyeballing, again, this is anecdotal eyeballing. We do not see much difference. However, we have not done a quantitative study on that.
Thank you.
Because we have time, I have one more question. Do you have, I mean, this is an amazing data set as well in terms of do you have additional information about demographic? Did you look at different aspects? You did look at seniority. Did you look at other factors?
Yeah, no, we did not look at other factors of demographics. One is like it's hard to collect this data, but
Yeah.
also at least all of our processing was on anonymized data except for the seniority. So we didn't do that.
Okay,